morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle, and we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, and we got Tyrion 10 on deck. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
I think this is the best one yet, right? Like, I feel like this is probably the best chapter yet.
It's a good one.
Dope chapter.
Of like all three books, you're saying? Or
at least this one, man. Dude, you're asking me to remember like 4 years ago at this point to include in there. I don't know if I could do that, but
I mean, the Red Wedding was pretty crazy.
I still think this one was better.
I mean, this is a good one. Don't get me wrong. So again, I watched the show scene first. So I think the show does a really good job at this chapter as well because it's almost there's no real liberties taken. Like it's taken from the page and it's done pretty well. Nelson agreed.
Yeah, so give us a synopsis.
I say he's about to come down with you're fucking wrong, Jeff. The synopsis is really
I agree.
We talked off air.
My point is there's two things that I think the show is accurate on, but like there's two parts of this chapter and I think the show is pretty accurate.
Well, hang on. You want me to give the synopsis that you just cued me to do in the okay.
That's why I'm telling you why I asked for the synopsis because it relates to my answer to that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess the surprise witness seems to be Shay, not what's his name?
Thought it
Jamie.
Was Jamie. Yeah.
Yeah. And she comes out and she says a whole bunch of bullshit, and then Tyrion gets up and was like, "Fuck it, trial by combat," right? Like,
basically,
pretty much like this isn't. I'm not gonna have a fair trial anyway. Might as well do this. The Red Viper steps in, and it seems like he's going to do his thing and then ends up getting got himself at the end. It's really kind of how it ends. You know
what this fight reminds me of in pop culture? I guess it's not really pop culture. Sports culture is a couple years ago, actually the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, the Saints were beating the Vikings to go to the NFC Championship game, and with like 4 seconds left, they threw it up to Stephon Diggs, and the safety just fell, and they fucking lose to the Vikings. You remember that?
I don't remember.
I'll send the highlight tape. It's literally like 7 seconds left, I think. Like everyone was like celebrating in New Orleans, and
I was gonna say that I'm not. I mean, I'm not a football fan, but that 21-3 or whatever, right? Like that's another pretty brutal comeback. But that wasn't last minute like this one.
Yeah, just kind of like out of nowhere, last second comeback.
Yeah,
it's called the Minnesota Miracle.
Yeah, but like kind of like what I was saying, why like one of the synopsis there as we were talking about the show is like I think both those scenes are pretty accurate. Both the Shay testifies scene, like Tyrion freaks out on everybody. That's pretty accurate. There's a lot of quotes in the show scene that are directly from this chapter, and the same thing with the battle scene. It's pretty like good. I think that might be one I want to send Kyle, like a little 1 minute clip of that like little fight at the end because it's sick.
Even the fight, and I would say, I mean, those two scenes, I don't think there's any spoilers in those scenes, right? If it's just those scenes,
I think that's easier to say, unfortunately, from the outside here.
Well, you've read them, so like I said, like it's pretty word for word, and I just think Peter Dinklage is him acting in that scene is phenomenal, and the fight is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's weird because like I feel like after seeing the show, I haven't seen I felt like on this read there'd be more internal monologue. There's not that much like internal monologue. It's not like, oh, Tyrion was really pissed. It's more just like Tyrion stood up and yelled at everybody like, go fuck yourselves, which is like, I don't know. Like I thought they would have been like, I hated everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he needed to be because there was
it came across in the
yeah, it's clear obviously by what he's saying, but I don't know. I thought there would have been.
I mean, I think
it's
up to this point we've had day 1, 2, and 3 or however many days it was of the trial. You kind of got that. Like he was obviously saying shit, but like was like, what the fuck? Like this is bullshit. Cersei rigged this, and now it's like this isn't like I've had enough. The one person that I thought kind of loved me for me is now fucking on the other side. Like fuck this. I've had enough.
Yeah. So
which is weird. I mean. I was going to say, do you want to get into the actual chapter? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to the Shay part pretty quick because I think it just starts with him in the morning in his cell, basically thinking over his options. Yep. Right? He can deny everything, blame it all on Sansa and Dantos.
His cell here is like the fancy cell, though, right? Like
his tower cell.
He's He even has like a little bit of freedom to walk, like if he gets permission.
Yeah, it seems like he's allowed to go visit Oberyn before the thing later. So
so he's not living too bad.
But yeah, so option one is deny and blame Sansa and Dantos. 2 is confess and hope Tywin honors his word and sends him to the wall. And 3 is risk it. It's the one we end up going with. Risk it and let Oberyn fight the mountain.
I mean, yeah, and we'll get there, but that was really his option, right? Like, there was no...
Yeah, I wouldn't... It's just hard to, like, put trust into Tywin because, like, if it suits him, he probably would change his mind and not think twice about it. Like, if there was, like, an uproar.
Well, I mean, he's got a point of... He's seen it happen before with Ned. I know it wasn't Tywin there, but, like, it's like...
Well, I think it's very interesting, like, Tywin is pissed when Tyrion goes trial by combat. Like, he's smashing his fist on the table. Like, Tywin seems very composed most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's half because it wasn't his idea.
Exactly.
Like, I told you what to do and you're not following it.
Well, there's a part where Tyrion even thinks later, he's like, I was just glad, if for nothing else, I took it out of my father's hands and gave it into the hands of the gods. If there are gods and they give a shit. At least it's not in Tywin's hands anymore.
His plans to splinters or something like that, he says, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's definitely where all, like Kevin's kind of narrative comes from, right? Like, he was being fed that from Tyrion. I mean, he kind of even said that as much, but, like, the whole wall idea was that, like, Kevin last chapter came in and, was like, you can do this, do that. Like, Tywin will give you leniency, yada, 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 send you the wall. So, exactly, yeah. You could see when that didn't work that it didn't make Tywin too happy.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, too, that he thinks that, like, wow, this might be my best option, and I wish I just would have been the one to kill Joffrey. And then I could, like, all right, yeah, I'll take that option, but, like, I'm confessing to something, obviously, I know I didn't do. Like, this is bullshit. But he's also kind of thinking of the wall's not that bad.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It seems like going in, that's what his plan is, right? He said these are the 3 options. It seems like he's leaning towards confess and hope Tywin holds everything up because, like you said, he's thinking a lot about the wall. He's like, I was there. Wasn't so bad. The vows would suck because then there's no more girls. But it's whatever. There's a brothel nearby. It's not the worst of it. So, and then, exactly like you said, I wish I would have done it if I had to confess anyway. And he's like, hey, Pod. Like, Pod's like, hey, it's time to go. And he's like, Pod, do you think I did it? And Pod is just like...
Can't answer. Whimpers.
Like, looking at his feet. And Tyrion's like, you don't have to answer. Don't worry about it. And Tyrion's like, fuck, that's not good.
Yep.
Even my own squire thinks I'm guilty.
Yeah. So he gets walked in. Everyone's watching him, like, the whole way. Along the walk, inside the throne room. Everyone's watching him. And here comes our last... witness, the Lady Shay.
Yep.
Which is like, I don't know, this had me not internally conflicted, but like I was conflicted while reading this, right? Like, I mean, she was definitely in a tough spot. She was never, I mean, I don't know, she didn't need to lie so much, I guess, right? Like, she gets into this whole, I guess we can kind of touch on that, like, the whole story of just, like, she heard Tyrion say, him and Sansa conspiring all the time, and that this was, like, his plan, his master plan was to usurp everybody and kill Tom and kill all these people. Like, I mean, and, like, he pretty much, like, captured Shay herself, and, like, forced her into all this, like, sexual slavery, essentially, and, like, she just like goes way over the top, right?
Well, it's weird because it's everything you're saying is true, but there's a lot of truth sprinkled throughout.
I agree.
There's a lot of lies in there, obviously, but also like pretty much their entire story is in there, right? She says like, he stole me from a person I intended to marry on the Green Fork. We don't know if she intended to marry somebody, but she was with another person, got stolen. She says like, oh, I was supposed to be the guy I was supposed to be with was put in the front lines. That's not true. We know that. Tyrion was put in the front lines himself. Right, but like some of the Green Fork stuff is true, right? So, and then she was sent to King's Landing with him, and I
don't think it's nearly as true as you're making it sound, though. Like she was like, "Oh, I was just an innocent girl there."
I think it's just
I was
an
innocent girl there that was
with
my husband that I was betrothed to or whatever, and really she was a
camp follower.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She was a prostitute in camp already. Like, I mean, it's sure Tyrion took her from somebody, but
they spun it to make her look really good.
What's that quote? The best lies
have a little bit of truth to them.
Have some of the truth. And I think that's like kind of how all this is. Even like when he confessed everything to me, it was down in the dragon skulls. Like, why? Like that part's are true. Like because it's like, I feel like you have to make it plausible. Like, okay, where were you meeting secretly? It's like, oh, we're down in the dragon skulls because they were meeting secretly down by the dragon skulls.
Well, because then the follow-up question to Tyrion would be like, well, did you have sex with her down in the dragon skulls? And he would say yes.
Yeah. yes, but not. Yeah, exactly. And then it makes it not as believable.
Yes, but no, she came. Like, she wanted to come with me type of thing.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was to Kyle, why do you think she did lie to the extent that she did?
I mean, there's a couple like obvious or potential reasons. Like one is money, fear of death. I mean, she saw what happened with Cersei before, right? Like, I mean, you know how powerful she is.
Yeah.
Just kind of like I said, promise of status, promise of any of that. Like, I there's a couple options for sure.
Sure.
Like,
yeah. I mean, I guess like what I'm saying is, if it was the fear of death, maybe from Cersei, like, she'd probably sing whatever song she wanted
punishment
to
at least. How's that?
To save her own head.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think she's falling on the sword for Tyrion.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, we have way more highborn people lying about this, right? So I think to the point of like, yes, she might have been bribed, but like also Cersei could definitely be like, yo, say what I want you to say, or you're dead. Who's going to be like, oh, you know what? Where's that weird handmaid that used to be around here? Like, no one's going to miss Shay.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time, like, she could have just said, I don't know anything.
True. So I think
because I mean, where are the other ones, right? Where's there was more than one with Sansa, right? Like, she didn't have just Shay.
So I think that implies that she was like, yeah, she was maybe trying to make a buck out of it, and like was like, hey, I'll do whatever you want me to do if you give me some extra money.
It's so fucked though, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we saw the whole her and Tyrion side of things, and it didn't seem. I don't know. I guess it just proves that it was all a lie, right? An act.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like that though.
This is a little bit different in the show. In the show, Shay is definitely has feelings for Tyrion, like actual feelings. And
yeah.
I think fans have even asked George about this directly, and he's like, yeah, I actually like the way they did it in the show. In the books, Shay's kind of just like a whore who's only in it for the money. He's like, but they would like the way the show did it added like another layer there. But he kind of admits that in the book, she's straight up just a whore, just in it for the money. And there's multiple times in Tyrion chapters where he like thinks that. He's like, you're an idiot. She's a whore. She only likes you for your money. Stop falling for this.
She's telling you what she wants you to hear.
I know, but like, it's been, at least to me, it feels like a year and a half of them being together to some degree, right? Like,
long enough,
like,
for sure.
Exactly, but I think there's a lot of those chapters have a little bit of foreshadowing of you're an idiot. She doesn't love you. You don't love her. She's only doing this because of the money. Right, when he's like, get out of here, and she's like, wait, can I have my jewels again? You made me a maid. I want my jewels. And he's like, no, you're an idiot. Like,
yeah.
And then he's like, wait, obviously she wants her jewels.
Fair.
She only likes me for the money. She doesn't care about being safe and being close to me like I want from her. She just wants the jewels.
Yep.
So like he's caught himself in this. Along those lines, though, I think when she first shows up, it's interesting. He blames Varys. He's like, damn it, Varys, like betrayed Shay. And he's like, no, Varys straight up warned me about this.
Yeah.
Like, you bring her close. She's more in the spotlight. Cersei's too smart to buy the story we told, like, have given her.
Yeah.
So Tyrion's basically like, it's my own fault that she's here.
He's also said, Varys has said, like, look, I'm protecting the realm. Like, I don't give a fuck about any of you. Like, I'm using my info the way I need to.
Yes,
like,
exactly. If she asked me, I'm telling the truth. You're just lucky she hasn't asked me yet. It's pretty much what Varys said. Yeah.
Right. So, all right. So I guess we did kind of list everything that she kind of said. Nelson kind of did it in a quick way, which is great.
Well, she starts off by just saying, oh, yeah, Tyrion was involved with the murder. And then when like, how would you know this? That's when she's like, oh, yeah, I was also his whore. And gets into the rest of the story.
I've been
Heard
here.
it from Sansa.
Done
we were
been
down
here.
in the dungeon. Like, yada, yada. Yeah, it's all.
Yep. She's crying at some point, right? She starts crying a lot. And Tyrion's like, oh, fuck, everybody in here is definitely, like, believing everything she's saying. Like, I almost want to take her in my arms and comfort her right now.
Yeah. And then she dropped the funniest joke in the Seven Kingdoms.
He made me call
Giant of Lannister.
my giant of Lannister.
I don't remember him making her do, right? Like, didn't
she
seem...
would. I think she said it like jokingly. She jokingly said it like the first time that they got together, and then she like.
I don't know if it
continued
was
to
even
say,
joking. It was just like, oh,
Playing
you're
on his
a man to
insecurities.
me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, I always say that was a joke then.
Okay.
I mean,
Like if I say, I don't know, I would. She didn't mean it when she said it, or unless he's got a huge member, and it was.
Well, I think that's kind of the double meaning there. Is like,
Yeah, obviously.
she would call him big down there because he's a little person, right? So, just in general. Oh, don't worry, you make up for it type deal. It's kind of how I take that, but I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'm taking it as too sexual.
Well, I think it's a double entendre. Is that the word?
Yeah.
And
Double
entendre with a T.
Entendre.
I don't know if it came through. It sounded like a chondra.
I said chondra.
Okay,
sure.
yeah, tundra.
Double entendre.
I was thinking that too, Jeff, but I didn't know how to say it, so I straight away.
I'll jump on that grenade for us. It's okay.
You're all right. I don't think that was that bad.
It's a Game of Thrones word
I
anyway.
didn't tell you were an idiot. Just corrected you.
We're math majors.
But yeah, so when she drops this, everyone starts cracking up. First off, Osmond, some of the other King's
The whole
Guard,
thing,
Cersei, but then all the Lord.
Well, she says it multiple times.
So yeah, everyone except Tywin.
So yeah, Tywin's just staring. And this is when he's like looking around, like, I saved all of you.
All your
How
worthless
dare
lives.
you laugh at me? I wish I could kill you all.
I mean, yeah, right? Like, fuck all these people.
Yeah. Same people that would watch Sansa get beat too, like in the throne room, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And more.
Yeah. So Tyrion does something, signals to Tywin. Tywin makes a signal. Everybody starts getting quiet. They take Shay out. She gives him like a look. He's like, is that a look of she's shameful that she just did that to me? Or is it like she's afraid that somehow I'm going to get her or whatever? But then Tyrion is like, I want to confess, basically, right? He pulled this already at the Eyrie. This is kind of his move where he confesses. He says, "I want to confess," and then he confesses something they're not accusing him of.
Something else.
In the Eyrie, he confessed for like every little crime that he's ever done, right? Like
like pulling pranks on his sister and stuff like that.
I stole my brother's pudding at dinner.
Yeah, exactly. I'm remembering something from the show. I don't know if it's the same in the books, but I think it goes very similarly there.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't either. But yeah, so he announces he's guilty of being a dwarf, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's kind of got a point, right? He's like, I'm sorry that I will never be what you wanted me to be, and now I have a target on me, and nobody will ever listen to me, right?
Yep.
I was born, I lived, I am guilty of being a dwarf, I confess it, and no matter how many times my good father forgave me, I persisted in my infamy. It's like, I never stopped being a dwarf. Sorry, Dad.
I tried my hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not on trial for that? And he's like, yes, I am. I have been my whole life. And they're like, don't you have anything to say in like an actual defense? Like, that was the last witness. It's actually your turn now. And he's like, not really. Just that I didn't do it, but I wish that I had. If I'm going to go down for it anyway, I wish I had enough to fucking kill all you, poison all you motherfuckers.
Yeah, I mean, really though, like, what? He's not losing it. Like, this didn't lose him the argument, right? Like,
yeah, there was nothing
no real
he could
downside to him. Yeah,
there was nothing he was going to say here that was going to win anybody over.
No final statement would have helped this case. So
it's a weird, not a weird. It's just a play. All you can do.
Trial by combat. It is. Let the gods decide.
Yeah, and when he says it, his father's like, "Have you taken leave of your wits?" "No, I found them. I demand trial by battle." Cersei O'Tappy, she's like, "Okay, nice. Plan B was actually what I was hoping for."
Great. I got LeBron waiting in the wings.
Yeah, exactly.
What you talking about?
And you're a dwarf, yeah. Like nobody's gonna fight for you.
Yeah, she definitely didn't think he could find someone. She didn't think he could find someone to fight for him, for sure.
Well, Mace is the one that says that. He's like, "Do you have someone to stand for you?" And Oberyn pops up next to Mace. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you know what? Tyrion's actually he convinced me."
That's gotta be the town hall shocker of all. You're like, what? You were the judge on this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a pretty big bomb for sure.
Yeah, again, like we knew it was coming, but like for the rest of the hall, definitely this was a huge moment. Yeah.
Well, the weird thing was like Oberyn was kind of pushing a lot of like Shay questioning and stuff earlier. Kind of confused me a little bit.
Well, he's just a hornball. He just wanted to learn more about he was reading 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, he was just enjoying himself.
He's curiously like, what did he do to you? Like,
okay.
Where did he do it to you?
He made me do shameful things, and he's like, "Tell us more." Like, that's not important to the trial, but okay. Used all my holes. Yeah, that's when they go down that.
Well, he does say something about like you admit you poisoned the king. I mean, he was more vocal than I expected him to be up until now.
You're right. He is the only one asking questions. He's basically like, "How did you know this?" Which is when she admits that she was the whore in addition, and then he also has the follow up of explain. Yeah. Tell us more about the whoring. But yeah.
Yep. All right. So Tywin's pissed, leaves. And Kevin follows him, and Tyrion goes back to his cell. Happy he thwarted Tywin's plans. And now he thinks kind of about all the possibilities of what's going to happen. What could happen at the trial. Really, there's two, right?
Well, kind of how it fucks up Tywin either way. If Oberyn wins, the Tyrells and Martells, the Rells, as Jeff says, their feud's going to be even. Like, we're finally kind of getting Mace to get along with some of the Martells. If this happens, now not only did Oberyn cripple Mace's son, Willis, because that's how he got crippled, was in a joust with Oberyn, but now Oberyn has basically helped a person who, in Mace's eyes, tried to kill Marjorie because he's poisoning the cup that both Joffrey and Marjorie drank from, basically helping the attempted murder of his daughter get off scot-free. So he's like, that's not going to go well if Oberyn wins. If Oberyn loses, then the Dornish, who we're just now, again, bringing them back into the realm, they've been pissed off at us. They're definitely not coming back in. So
yeah, dude's dead.
They're here to fight now.
Their homie's
and
dead.
they have Marcella, like right now. So
True.
and he's like, Tyrion's like, it's almost worth dying to know how much trouble this is all causing.
Yeah. So he's sitting in his cell. No one comes to visit him that night.
Well, he thinks about Shay a little bit, and he sings his
Well,
song.
if you would let me fucking talk.
Sorry,
dickhead.
Well, the line about Kevin coming to get him is after the song, but okay. I thought you skipped it. Go ahead.
So as he's sitting in his cell by himself, because he gets no visitors that night, he does think about if Shay would come watch him get beheaded. That's all. That's the only thought of her.
And he thinks about the song.
Yeah.
The old song about her that Simon...
Which got Simon in trouble, right? Or was that being sung?
Simon used it as blackmail on Tyrion. He's like, hey, I know about something
Didn't
that
make
people
its
aren't supposed
way
to
out.
know about.
It didn't make its way out at all, right?
Yeah, Tyrion had him cut up and put in stew, right? Or
before any of that could even get out, right?
Into the brown.
But now he's like reminiscing because he actually kind of likes the song. He rode through the streets of the city, down from his hills on high.
You sing it better than that now. Don't half-ass the song.
He rode through the streets of the city, down from his hill on high, o'er the winds and the steps and the cobbles. He rode to a woman's sigh, for she was his secret treasure. She was his shame and his bliss, and a chain and a keep are nothing compared to a woman's kiss.
Nice.
Yep.
Very good.
And Tyrion's thinking like, damn, I wish I would have at least got him to sing the rest of the verses because the song kind of slaps. Like, maybe I'll write the rest if I live long enough.
I'll make him up. Yep. So he gets permission. Like I mentioned, Kevin doesn't come to visit him. And he gets permission to go visit Prince Oberyn in the morning.
He does eat a good little breakfast. So he's mentioned the past couple like mornings of the trial that he hasn't been able to eat. And he's actually feeling good this morning. Eats a big breakfast.
You know what? It's like, fuck it. Like,
it's out of his hands,
I'm getting a yes or no at this point, right?
Double helping of Dornish peppers. Yeah. Big time breakfast.
I mean, that seems like an aggressive, like, come out of no appetite, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, like, it's not in anybody else's hands but Oberyn's now, which is like...
I know, but, like, to go, like, straight to, like, the habaneros or the, scorpions, Pepper X, like, hell yeah, like, spice me up, baby. I haven't eaten for a week and a half, but I'm going to eat these fire peppers. Like, that seems
Huevos
stupid,
rancheros.
right?
That's what some spicy eggs. Yeah.
That wouldn't have been my order.
Pretty good. So, yeah, he goes to see Oberyn. I don't know exactly where this is, but it doesn't really matter. Oberyn's drinking wine, offers Tyrion some. Tyrion's like, what? We can't be drinking. You're about to be in a fight.
You're drinking before the game?
And, what are you talking about? And Oberyn is getting help, it says, with 4 of his, like, younger lords. I tried to find the 4 names through the conversation. I only found 3. One they call the Bastard of God's Grace, and is also Sir Daemon Sand, same person. It's like a nickname. Sir Aaron Corgyle and Lord Dagos Manwitty. I don't know who the 4th one is, but I think it's kind of interesting who these guys are because this conversation, Oberyn starts spewing like seemingly some secret plans or some treason plans. Yeah. So the fact that he's talking openly around not only Tyrion but these cats. So yeah,
I think he vaguely kind of brings it up though. Like if he had to again like go back to like a court of law, like what are you talking about? Like why can't Tyrion be a counsel to his niece or
Well, he might say Queen Marcella. We'll see.
If you read between the lines, of course there's the treasonous aspect to it. But
yeah,
it's what you can prove, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
So the first thing is just that he's like, yo, you're fighting the Mountain. Like, do you know this guy? Do you know the legends of this dude? He's huge.
Almost
he's got
8 feet
a
tall.
Two-handed greatsword. You can just read it. Just read it. I was going to paraphrase.
almost 8 feet tall, and must weigh 30 stone, all of it muscle. He fights with a 2-handed greatsword, but needs only one hand to wield it. He has been known to cut men in half with a single blow. His armor is so heavy that no lesser man could bear the weight, let alone move in it.
Oberyn don't give a fuck.
And Oberyn's like, I've killed big guys before. You just got to get them off their feet.
Just gotta take out the legs.
He's like, give me my spear. And Tyrion thinks like, damn, this guy's so confident, it makes me kind of reassured. He's like, give me my spear. And Tyrion's like, oh, fuck, spears are not for 1v1s. What are we talking about here? That's like a
maybe if you're on a horse
steel.
and you're riding in.
Bad choice. Yeah.
And Oberyn's like, no, trust me. I know what I'm doing with this guy. And he spins it, and it's like a little glistening at the end.
The great argument is the reach aspect of it. Like, you're right. This dude's huge, and he has a great sword. I'm
6 foot
like
sword, yeah.
normal sized. I need to make up for the reach. It's like,
got to get inside that, yeah.
He seems pretty good with the spear.
Yeah,
I think it was a solid choice.
It's also like, maybe the show just plays it up more, but like I feel like that's kind of like the weapon of Dorne, kind of. Nels. Like,
well, no, their sigil is the sun, and I think there's
it's a spear, right? It's the sun and spear.
The sun spear,
I have
right?
a quote later, but like kind of the whole thing that kind of wins the fight, and we'll read it, is the sun comes out, the mountain puts it at his back. Oberyn uses the sun off his shield to blind the mountain, causing him to raise his sun in the eyes, and then he stabs him with the spear. So like Oberyn literally wins the fight with the sun and spear.
Does he
shield.
though?
Yes, we'll see. You'll see later. But it's like, I think, a really on purpose thing that
for sure.
The spear is a big part of Dorne just as much as the sun is.
I think he meant does he, because does he win, Nelson? Does he really win the fight?
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. It's the old, like, kick up sand in their eyes trick, too. It's like a little dirty.
But I don't think like this was something he thought of on the fly. He's practiced this. It's on the sigil.
Yeah.
It's like if the kicking sand in the eye move was on your sigil, then yeah, you're definitely allowed to do it.
Pocket sand.
It's like, come on, dude, I told you.
Yeah, it's definitely not as dirty. It's kind of like deferring so that you can choose the sun in the first, like, you have to kick off into the sun.
It'd be like if your sigil is a boxing glove with razor blades in it, and like you didn't. Yeah, I mean you gotta put razor blades in. Yeah, you gotta put razor blades in there, man.
Yeah, you're allowed to. Yep.
Like I have to.
Yeah. Well, the enemy should expect it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm telling you right away what I'm doing. Yeah, I guess that's fair.
So his spear, the spear that we're talking about, is badass. 8 foot. And the last 2 feet of that is the spearhead and big ass spike, which gets used as a pole vaulting stick later on. But last 2 feet, that's a big ass spearhead.
Yeah, but a lot of that is like the
spike,
brace,
I guess.
There's, I would say, probably like a foot of spike,
I don't know,
and a foot of like bracing, like a
dope spear though.
Yeah, I mean it's a spear, it's a deadly spear for sure. And it's there's a little black oil-ish substance on the tip of it. What's that?
Yeah. Rosin. It's a foreign substance. Get him out of there.
Get him out. You're actually disqualified. You can't even fight today.
Yeah.
Get him another glove. It's poison. Is it? Might be.
But yeah, we need the High Septon out here checking equipment, not praying to the gods. Like, let's check for stickum. Let's check some helmets. You know what I mean? Make sure these things are certified. Oberyn doesn't even have a visor on. Clearly impacts the fight later on.
Like this.
Well, that's just choosing your own equipment. There, it's like it's not like you're deflating the footballs or anything like that.
Yeah, is poison that bad? Like, I mean, I guess it is, right? But
it doesn't seem very useful to trial by combat. Like, what, unless this thing's going to happen for hours, or unless your poison is like an instant
fast acting
poison.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what Joffrey drank was pretty quick acting. I think we talked about that before. But
all right, so let's get into the treasonous part of the conversation. Nels, take it away.
Yeah, he's like, hey, so when Oberyn's like, hey, when I won, you're coming to Sunspear with me. And he's like, and you're bringing Sansa too. And Tyrion's like, okay, he thinks I have Sansa. I'm not going to tell him right now, but
I got her in my back pocket.
He's like, I'm not going to tell him right now, but okay, let's let him think we have her for if that's what he wants. Like, we can talk about this after the battle. But
why give him information he doesn't need right now? Yeah.
And if it sways him into wanting to fight for him, like what if he knows he didn't have Sansa? Like, well, fuck you. I need the North. Like, I don't care about.
Yeah, that's part of this plan. Exactly. Because it seems like there's a bigger plan at work here. Because he says, you got to come meet my brother, the actual Lord. You guys have many mutual interests: music, trade, history, wine, the dwarf's penny, and laws of inheritance and succession. And he's like, and an uncle's counsel would be good for Queen Marcella right? I think he calls her Queen Marcella.
Yeah, he says, yeah, Queen Marcella.
Shouldn't she be Princess Marcella right now?
That's what he's saying.
That's the point, Jeff.
That's the treasonous line. That's the for sure. If Varys is listening, and that's what Tyrion says next.
Again, but he's the Prince of Dorne. That's not treasonous to say that. So like again, I don't think at some point she's going to be the Queen of Dorne.
Marcella?
Is she?
Right? Isn't
I don't think
the one she's marrying the prince?
No. Because I think I understand what you're saying now. Because she is marrying the heir.
There's a king of Dorne right now. Doran is the king of Dorne?
No, he is a prince too. Because I think what the rule was basically that when Dorne gets entered into the kingdom, they can keep the title prince instead of lord.
Gotcha.
But there's still no king. But I understand what you're thinking. You were thinking that Doran was king of Dorne, and then Marcella was going to marry Tristan, and then technically
the future king of Dorne.
Yeah. So okay.
But yeah, no, their titles were pretty much prince equals lord is the only difference for Dorne. So yeah, and Tyrion's like, fuck, if Varys is listening, this is not good. He's like, maybe I will have some of that wine you offered. Tyrion's like, maybe I will have that wine you offered me earlier. And he's like, Tyrion starts thinking about it. He's like, would this be a good idea? Like, if I did have Sansa, then, like, technically I'm the heir to Castle Rock. If I got out of this legally, Sansa's the heir to Winterfell. If we declared for Marcella, then we have Dorne, Castle Rock, the Westerlands, and Winterfell on our side. There's three of them.
I think assuming that you have Castle Rock, though, is bad.
I agree.
Like, even if he's the heir, like...
It's kind of like what we're saying. It's like the on paper versus what would happen in reality, right? Like on paper, Tyrion's heir of Castle Rock. Would anyone rally against him?
Well, yeah, and he doesn't.
Right?
He also doesn't know the situation elsewhere, right? Like the North is kind of in shambles right now too. So like,
yeah,
that's not really something to have in your pocket.
Again, it seems like it would have been a good plan like a year ago, but like exactly like you're saying, everying that's happening like. There's no North, like you're literally picking.
There's no
like,
strength
a guy
behind
who would
any
not
of the
get
stuff
back
he's saying.
In the one of the kingdoms that has nobody that could really help us.
He does think too. Like, did you say this? Like, could he be the one to fight his family? Could he be on the other side of?
I didn't say that. Yeah, but he does think that.
Seeing his dad. I mean, it's the end. It's just his thought. Like, if I did do this, like, could I do that and fight my family?
He definitely wonders if they would fight him too, right?
I think he thought about that in the last one.
Not him. It was if they would fight Marcella versus Tommen. Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah, be wild.
Yeah. I think Oberyn like slightly hinted at this in the last chapter when he like came to visit Tyrion before the last day of the trial. He had mentioned like something about Marcella, and that's when Tyrion I think was more heavily thinking about that. But exactly, he had definitely something that's crossed his mind. So then Oberyn starts thinking. He's basically saying, "Hey, remember what I told you when I met you the first time?" And he tells us a little more of that story.
Because his first story was like, we heard about the ugly baby, wasn't it?
We came to see the monster at Castle Rock.
But you were just a baby, and Cersei was cruel to you. It's kind of what that was.
And you
were weird looking.
Purple nurpled his pecker.
Yeah, like we heard you had a tail and scales and one red eye, and like your head was a little big, but that was about it. Like everything else was pretty normal. You cried a lot.
Yeah, you were just a baby.
He said you were a disappointment, but again, for being not a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we hear kind of the motive of why they were actually traveling from Dorne up to Castle Rock.
Pretty much trying to set up marriages for both him and his sister, right?
Yep. Exactly. But he is under the suspicion, I don't know if it was ever confirmed to him, but basically he's saying there's a part where he gets to, our moms used to be friends. They used to be both like
they
ladies.
They were on court together.
Yeah, they went to school essentially. Right?
Yeah.
They were same sorority.
They went to yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pretty much. They were both ladies for Princess Riella, who would become Queen Riella, who's like Dany's mom.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Dany Viserys Rhaegar's mom, Prince Aer, the Mad King's wife. So they were before she was actually like queen. Before that, whenever their dad was in charge, they were like just the friends of her at court. The main point is they were friends, like you guys said. They were sorority sisters. So Oberyn's basically saying, I don't think she actually intended us to ever get married to any of these people. I think the whole point was like the moms wanted their kids to get married, so like they set up this like, oh, let's go see who we can get married show. But like it was all supposed to come to a head here. But the mom died.
Mom did. Tyrion came. Mom's gone.
Tyrion's even saying like that's a dumb plan. Tywin wore the pants in the kingdom, and Oberyn's like, in the kingdom, but from what I heard from my mom,
not at home.
And But so like it would have happened pretty much as what Oberyn is saying. This marriage definitely would happen if your mom was still alive, but she wasn't. Instead, we got you and had to deal with Tywin. Tywin's like, no, Cersei's for Rhaegar. You can have Tyrion if you want for Elia.
Tyrion, not Jaime.
Not Jaime.
Which is like Jaime's off the table.
Yeah. I guess the one thing I will say in there, one of the suitors, the only one that they name besides Cersei and Jaime is Baelor Hightower. And he farted once in their presence. Yeah. So
he made fun of every suitor for Elia the whole time.
Yeah. And this guy they called Baelor Breakwind. And I think it's cool because Tyrion says, like, dang, if that would have actually worked out, like he's the heir to Hightower right now, like a pretty powerful family.
Could have saved a lot of lives.
Yeah, none of this would happen.
Had Elia wed him in place of Rhaegar Targaryen, she might be in Old Town with her children going tall around her. He wondered how many lives had been snuffed out by that fart.
So, just keeping with the theme.
Yep. And again, there's another quote a little bit here where Tyrion says, "It all goes back and back to our mothers and fathers and theirs before them. We are puppets dancing on the strings of those who came before us, and one day our own children will take up our strings and dance in our steads."
Yeah, pretty much all of this hatred is just so ancient, right? Like it's
family ties.
It goes all the way back.
It's just one big game of Hatfield McCoys with 20 different families instead of just 2.
Yeah, exactly. and these people don't even really realize why they're fighting anymore. Like they do, but they don't. Like they weren't. This one they were there kind of for, but
I think this one's kind of recent history, but
yeah, a lot of it is like you have no direct connection to it. It's just what we must do, which is pretty ridiculous, right? Like that's not a good reason to fucking hate somebody.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the point of this story? Like, why are we talking about this?
Why are we talking about this?
Well, we didn't quite get to the end, right? Because Tyrion basically says, well, where did it all end up? Right? Tywin said no because he wanted...
He's like, well, Elia won. She got Rhaegar instead of my sister. She became, the princess, the queen to be.
Yep.
And...
Oh, yeah.
But then he's like, did she win?
Kyle read that.
She thought so.
Prince Oberyn agreed.
But your father is not a man to forget such slights. He taught that lesson to Lord and Lady Tarbeck once and to the reigns of Castamere. And at King's Landing he taught it to my sister. My helm, Dagos?
Manwoody handed it to him. A high golden helm with a copper disc mounted on the brow. The son of Dorne. The visor had been removed, Tyrion saw.
Elia and her children have waited long for justice.
Prince Oberyn pulled on soft red leather gloves and took up his spear again.
But this day they shall have it.
So, what's he implying here?
Tywin had the sister killed.
Exactly, and he said this before. I don't just want the mountain; I want the person who gave the command.
So you think he got his sister killed because she married Rhaegar instead of Cersei?
I'm not saying that's what I think. That's clearly what Oberyn thinks. I think it's
yeah.
Likely.
That's what I mean.
Oberyn definitely has tunnel vision, so I don't know if I agree with him, but I think it's. I mean, we know Tywin. He makes a very good point. Like he does not deal with people who don't obey him well. When things don't turn out exactly like he wants, like with the Rains and Tarbecks, he obliterated those families.
Yeah, he's done this shit before.
So he's basically saying he is teaching a lesson. And he's like, let's give me my fucking helm. It's time to end it. Like, we're finally getting justice for that nonsense. So, exactly. I think this whole point of the story is we upset your dad. We weren't even trying to. It's not like we were trying to shove it in his face. We were just trying to get marriages, and it would have all been great if your mom didn't die, like, giving birth to you, basically. And again, it's not accusing
Could have been a happy
You fucked it up again, Tyrion. No, that's not what it is.
It's all your fault.
But again, I think that's why that Tyrion quote goes great, because this is... Now we have Tyrion and Oberyn, right, putting their lives on the line for Tywin getting pissed off at what happened because of Joanna, who's Tywin's wife's death, and then it didn't actually work out with the marriage. Like, this is shit. This is just baggage from the parents getting passed down to, like, actual life affecting their children.
It's
like, their lives on the line.
The whole... It's not even just the children. It's the entire fucking land of people.
Yeah.
There's a giant war raging right now, Nelson.
Exactly. Because these guys are highborn, so it affects everybody. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So everyone comes out to see the fight. The Mound looks as impressive as advertised. He's huge. Armor's cool. He doesn't look injured. If he was injured, and I don't know if that was a rumor that he got hurt somewhere.
I think they'd mentioned that, yeah. I think it's cool. Tyrion is like, even though he's on trial for his life and like everyone in the city hates him, he's still kind of thinking as if he's the master of coin.
Yeah, how can we make some money off that? We should have had it in the biggest arena and charged the people.
We should have sold tickets to this shit. Exactly. We should have done it in the Dragon Pit.
Who's got the concession stand?
I mean, it would have probably helped in a bigger arena.
Yeah, I mean, they're like keeping people
You're
back
not gonna have
with
spectators getting killed. That's for sure. And if you do it with stands, you have some bleachers.
Imagine just half of your head getting fucking sliced off. But
yeah.
So a lot of
just
people
for being there.
Mountain looks dope, and he sees like all his armor or whatnot, and he's like, "Damn, maybe." He sees his armor versus what Oberyn's wearing, and he's like, "Damn, I wish I kind of had Bronn or Jaime."
Yeah. So there is an interesting thing because he thinks about Jaime there, and then he says,
"Hasn't seen him yet."
Well, later he says, all the crowd was pushing in. There was hundreds pushing in, and only 6 pushing back. 6 Kingsguard pushing back.
Well, that means he would have been there because there's 6 and
exactly. One's in Dorne.
7 is in Dorne.
Exactly. So one of those is Jaime.
I think that's I don't want to say a George mistake, but maybe a George oversight.
Again, if Jaime's in his helmet, would Tyrion even know it's him? I think. So it doesn't have to be, but
that's fair.
Potential for sure. George is throwing in random Kettle Black names that don't even exist. So.
But he didn't notice one had one hand.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, Tyrion
the
has
one hand to one. I know. But yeah, no, like that's. I don't want to give too much away my prediction. No, that's really where my prediction is going to be, is that somehow Jaime comes into this, right? Like he still hasn't made an appearance
with Tyrion
in a Tyrion chapter. Yeah, exactly. And so I think like that leads to him having some sway here somehow. But yeah, we can get into that in a few.
Yeah. So Tywin starts it off like, all right, let's get this thing rolling. Septons, say the prayers.
I will say, cool thing about the Mountain's armor that I never noticed till this read through. A flat-topped great helm was bolted to his gorget with breadths around the mouth and nose and narrow slit for vision. The crest atop it was a stoned fist. It's like he literally has a rock on top of his head.
Like a ramrod. Just a ramrod.
Well, it's like, I'm guessing just like a fist like this but it's carved out of stone. Like he has a rock, he has a brick on his head.
Well,
weird. He pretty much has a brick on his head, right?
Are you sure it's that and not like embossed into the metal or like part of the metal? I don't know. Shaped to look like a stone fist? I don't know. I
mean, it says flat-top great helm, so I don't know. Maybe that implies that there's no thing on it, but
maybe it's
matter.
Like
something I noticed
part of the helmet. I know. Well, that was kind of why I was having a hard time imagining him with a brick on his head as well. That was why I was like, no, it has to be like carved into the helmet or something.
His neck's just so strong, he doesn't give a fuck.
It doesn't matter at all, but I thought it was kind of weird. But
all right, Septon, start your engines.
Yep, he asked the Father for justice, have the warrior to give strength to the man whose arm is just, and Osmond gives Clegane his shield. Clegane, the Mountain has
rocking a new shield
star. Yeah, not new.
What's the old shield?
The old one's painted under, but he new paint job on top for sure. And it's 50 yards
that was
between
like
them.
For what? Hold on. Like, why would, like, he says like, oh, Cersei, that's cute. Like, what are they trying to get out of, like, oh, he's a holy man, like the Mountain's a holy man, like we're fighting for the seven and the gods here.
God is deciding.
Yeah, that's the whole point of trial by combat, right? Is the gods will decide and intervene in the fight to make sure that the just cause wins.
Sure. No, I get it, but
he's saying, I fight for the side of the gods and the justice. I think
it's like he's trying to be like a paladin kind of, right? Like where, he's like invoking the spirit of God on his side.
I think that's kind of even like a symbolism later when like that gets shipped off, and it's like, you're not. You're still a dog. You're just a fucking mad dog underneath. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So
there's a lot of the same in this fight. Do you want to? I kind of had the beginning quote off to kind of get a gist, and then
I kind of had it. Oberyn makes his introduction to the Mountain, which is what he ends up saying over and over again.
Why don't you be Oberyn? I'll be Mountain, and Kyle can be narrator. I had this quote starting when the two men were 10 yards apart. So there's 50 yards. Oberyn is like fired up. He's like getting in there quick, and Tyrion says the Mountain is walking up more ominously.
When the two men were 10 yards apart, the Red Viper stopped and called out,
"Have they told you who I am?"
Sir Gregor grunted through his breaths.
"Some dead man." He
came on, inexorable. The Dornishman slid sideways.
"I am Oberyn Martell, a prince of Dorne,"
he said as the Mountain turned to keep him in sight.
"Princess Elia was my sister."
"Who?"
asked Gregor Clegane. Oberyn's long spear jabbed, but Sir Gregor took the point on his shield, shoved it aside, and bowled back at the prince, his greatsword flashing. The Dornishman spun away untouched. The spear darted forward. Clegane slashed at it. Martell snapped it back, then thrust again. Metal screamed on metal as the spearhead slid off the mountain's chest, slicing through the surcoat and leaving a long bright scratch on the steel beneath.
Elia Martell, Princess of Dawn,
The Red Viper hissed.
You raped her. You murdered her. You killed her children.
Sir Gregor grunted. He made a ponderous charge to hack at the Dornishman's head. Prince Oberyn avoided him easily.
You raped her. You murdered her. You killed her children.
Did you come to talk or fight?
I came to hear you confess.
Yeah, so that's where I had it at the confess. It's pretty much a lot of the same type of fighting.
They end up doing the dance. They do the Rocky 3, round and around.
If you didn't read the chat, I know a lot of you guys probably don't read along with us. If you didn't, this section is it's a dope fight scene. There's not many like 5-page 1v1s that we get in the books, and this is maybe not 5-page, but it's a multi-page.
It's a cool fight for sure.
Like I'm saying, there's a few there's shorter like quotes that we'll get to later that are more like specific, but
he definitely fucking pisses him off and stuff, and Oberyn has the upper hand by the end of it, right? Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, his strategy works. He's just kind of stupid at the end.
Yeah.
He lost the Minnesota Miracle.
There are people that say, like, when I guess it makes sense that Gregor probably has giganticism or whatever. That's like an actual disease where your body basically doesn't stop making the growth hormone that it makes when you're little, and you just get too big.
Thyroid problem, maybe? Is that
but
right?
I think as a part of that, like a main thing is you get like really bad headaches. So like a lot of like people with giganticism like become like drug addicts or like Andre the Giant was like an alcoholic. I think the dude literally would drink like 100 beers in one sitting
To try to cope?
I don't know if it was to try and cope or not, but like the dude could put down alcohol. But I think there are like a lot of people who have like mental issues, like not mental issues. I think mainly like migraines.
Nelson, how tall are you?
Is the main thing. 6'7". I don't think I have giganticism. Though. I've stopped growing. I think giganticism, like those people never really stop growing.
Okay.
But I think people have like theorized that that's partly why the mountain is like not okay with like the nonstop, like you raped her, you murdered her, you killed her children.
He's just kind of like socially. He's kind of like socially awkward.
No, it's just hurting his brain.
It literally hurts his head.
Oh, okay.
It literally hurts. Like he's literally giving him a migraine to the point where even when he cuts the guy's, if you notice when he cuts the kid's arm off, the kid yells and he says "shut up" and then cuts the kid's head off. It's almost like the yelling.
Yeah, just too much noise. Too much noise going on.
He refers to baby Aegon as like the wailing babe, right? The babe that he's crushed his head against, like the wailing babe. So again, that doesn't really matter. Who cares, right? Gregor is just basically a monster. But there's like a theory.
He's like it's like a quiet place. If you have the loud noise, he gets all fucked up.
He does not like it. Exactly. Yeah, keep quiet around the mountain. Exactly.
He does say, "You make my head hurt," too. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's kind of the next part. Like at one point, somehow Oberyn loses his spear, and is on just backpedaling, like dip dodge, just like
tight quarters,
dodging it and just backpedaling, and he runs into a spectator, like I'm talking about. Oberyn dives as the mountain slashes down. Kid gets his arm cut off, then his head cut off, and by then it gave Oberyn enough time to get a spear back.
It's just bad luck. That's the time you wish you didn't buy the front row ticket.
Well, I don't even. It says he's a stable boy, and they're like at the stables. I don't even know that he's like not just like trying to tend the horses there or something. Yeah.
Just making sure the horses were ready to go.
Yeah.
And Tyrion says at that point everyone's out. That's when everyone starts pushing and shoving, trying to get the fuck out of there.
Well, because there's like parts everywhere, and it's like, oh shit, this guy doesn't care.
Dude's head was just lopped off.
Yeah.
I don't want my seat anymore. It's like nobody sitting in the splash zone at SeaWorld.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sitting there.
So let's read this next little part. It's where I think the fight kind of turns, the part I was talking about earlier.
And in that moment, the sun broke through the low clouds that had hidden the sky since dawn. The son of Dorne, Tyrion told himself, but it was Gregor Clegane who moved first to put the sun on his back. This is a dim and brutal man, but he has a warrior's instincts. The Red Viper crouched, squinting, and sent his spear darting forward again. Sir Gregor hacked at it, but the thrust had only been a feint. Off balance, he stumbled forward a step. Prince Oberyn tilted his dinted metal shield. A shaft of sunlight blazed blindingly off polished gold and copper into the narrow slit of his foe's helm. Clegane lifted his own shield against the glare. Prince Oberyn's spear flashed like lightning and found the gap in the heavy plate, the joint under the arm. The point punched through mail and boiled leather. Gregor gave a choked grunt as the Dornishman twisted his spear and yanked it free.
Elia, say it! Ellie of Dawn.
He was circling, spear poised for another thrust.
Say it.
Tyrion had his own prayer. Fall down and die was how it went. Damn you, fall down and die.
Yep, that's how that one ended. So I think this is definitely a little on purpose Martell symbolism. Like, this is when, like, we've literally just had 2 pages of he stabbed and it scraped against the armor, and he stabbed and then dodged, and then here sun comes out.
The sun was his best ally.
Sun in the face, spear in the armpit. Sun and spear. It's their sigil. I think it's a little intentional. Does it matter?
The red blood.
The red blood. Good point.
Aren't the door? Or no, wait, are they not red and red?
Red and yellow. Red and yellow. Okay. Yep, kind of like the it's like a darker yellow than the Lannisters.
Isn't it what I took that as my sigil on our.
Yep, you're dressed like Oberyn pretty much in the background.
Okay.
Yeah, so here Mountain is bleeding. He starts gushing. Tyrion notices it. It's even outside the armor, which is it has to be coming.
Well, yeah,
out.
he's like, if this is on the outside, imagine what's in there. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like staggering. Oberyn circles around, gets him in the back of the knee, and he collapses, drops his sword, and rolls onto his back. And this is kind of where everything starts happening. So
big stab in the belly, right? And that stab,
he like kind of runs.
Yeah, he running pole vaults him, which Nelson was talking about earlier. Yeah, like
right.
Running, big stab in the belly, pole vaults over top of him. Then his spear break, or was it already broken?
It snapped, yeah.
And so he does the whole fucking, I don't want to say the villain monologue, but like the whole thing where he's like, I'm not gonna let you die until you say her name. Like,
yeah.
And that's what gets him in trouble, right? Like, he's like taunting him essentially.
That's what gets every villain in trouble, right?
Yeah, but he's not the villain in this, I don't think necessarily, but you know what I mean. Yeah,
it's all gray.
Well, he's literally he's being dumb. He's standing right next to him with his foot on
in
top
range.
of him.
Yeah.
Well, his foot's on top of him. Like, he's like kind of like he's planting a flag on the mountain, which is cool. Maybe cool symbolism. Also, he went and got the mountain's greatsword, so that's what he's like. Before you die, I will hear the name. Basically.
He didn't need to be like that. Sword's long enough. You could have kept a sword distance away. Yeah. You're stupid.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like you're winning the game. You could have been in prevent defense, but you ran an all out blitz. You didn't need to be up on the line of scrimmage.
He was a little cocky. He was feeling himself after that performance. It was a pretty cool performance, but
no. Again, Minnesota Miracle. So Gregor grabs him, does confess, right? Says everything. Yes, I did it all. And I'm gonna kill you too now, bitch.
Yeah, let's read this. Let's read this paragraph. I'll be the Gregor and you be the narrator. Ilya of Dawn.
They all heard Gregor say when they were close enough to kiss. Wait, what does that even mean?
He pulls him down.
They all heard Gregor say when they were okay. I got you.
He pulls Oberyn down like really close to him.
It was you all along, Fredo.
Exactly. Yes. Ilya of Dawn.
They all heard Sir Gregor say when they were close enough to kiss. His deep voice boomed within the helm.
I killed her screaming whelp.
He thrust his free hand into Oberon's unprotected face, pushing steel fingers into his eyes.
Then I raped her.
Clegane slammed his fist into the Dornishman's mouth, making splinters of his teeth.
Then I smashed her fucking head in, like this.
As he drew back his huge fist, the blood on his gauntlets seemed to smoke in the cold dawn air. There was a sickening crunch. Ilaria's sand wailed in terror, and Tyrion's breakfast came boiling back up. He found himself on his knees, retching bacon and sausage and apple cakes, and that double helping of fried eggs cooked up with onions and fiery Dornish peppers.
So, fingers to the eye, like do the old cartoon poke in the eyes, but with a steel gauntlet.
Yeah, not good.
And then punch, teeth go, punch again. I mean, Oberyn just made, first off, classic mistake. I don't know if it would have mattered against the Mountain, but he didn't have a face mask on his visor, on his helmet.
Yeah, but it also, it's kind of like, I'm just like all reference tonight. 300 when King Leonidas has to take off his helmet and visor because it stifles his vision. Like he's just...
I mean, I see that. I also think, though, I think there's actually a more selfish and stupid reason, and I think it's because he had so much to say.
He wanted everybody to hear him.
His first line is, "Did they tell you who I was?" Yeah.
Yeah, and he wanted him to see who he was. He wanted him to look him in the face, right? Like, I feel like that is probably part of this.
He probably looks a little bit like his sister, too.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it is kind of one of those, not Chekhov's gun here, but it was definitely pointed, like Tyrion made a, oh, fuck, and then here it is, came back to bite him. But didn't happen with the spear, didn't happen with some other stuff, so to make that claim. But, it didn't work out in the end, right? Like it still feels like the mountain's not in a great spot though.
Yeah. Like, especially if it was poisoned.
Especially if he's poisoned. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like driven through him and
through
speared him into the ground. Yeah, like it said he was spiked to the ground.
There, right?
Which is so fucked, right? Like this was over. The fight was over. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oberyn probably could have just walked away and just stood at the corner of the battlefield and just waited. Exactly. Waited it out.
Yeah. So I don't know. That was a little, I don't want to say lackluster, disappointing. I guess it's better because it ended in a surprise to some degree, but maybe they both ended up dead. I don't know how Tyrion gets out of it. Like that was Tyrion's out, right?
What happened would probably combat if they both die. I feel like it would have to be whoever dies first, and in this one that would have to you have to say Oberyn, but I think the line's cool. Tyrion, basically one of the last ones of the chapter, Tyrion's like, I put my life in Oberyn in the Red Viper's hands, and he dropped it. And then Tyrion realized that snakes don't have hands, and he started laughing hysterically.
Yeah,
and then he realizes they're not taking him back to his own cell, they're taking him downstairs, and he's like, wait, where are you going? Where are we going? Why are we taking me to the black cells? And no one answered. And Tyrion's like, why waste your breath on the dead? Oberyn's dead. Tyrion is condemned. That's where we're at.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I don't know if that's like spoilers, I guess, right? Like I know we've kind of talked about this in the past, but I know from the show that Tyrion goes on. So whether or not he does in the book, I don't know, but that leans me to heavily think somehow he gets out of this, right? Like if that's kind of why I'm trying to piece that together. And like I said, the only real missing piece we've had so far is still Jaime hasn't shown up, and it seems so strange, right? Like it feels like that has to be for a reason.
I agree, and I think I said it before that it is kind of weird. It seems like almost George is intentionally not including a lot of thoughts about Jaime.
Yeah, like why
for something?
Yeah, why wouldn't he have been
here? He did at least think about him. He thought like, oh, maybe I wish I had Jaime instead of Oberyn, and then he thinks, oh, there's 6 Kingsguard, one of which is Jaime.
Yeah,
but not directly. He doesn't spend any real time on it. So yeah.
I don't know what Jaime's going to do for him. I honestly don't. Like I said, the only thing I can really think of with that is that he's just so jilted and against everything. But he seems like he's not now. Like he's back in the Kingsguard. It seems like he's kind of going back to his old life still, which I think is strange to me. Like it doesn't seem. Maybe I'm misremembering where we left Jaime, but it doesn't. No, because he had the council with the other guys. Yeah. I mean, he did seem a little less enamored with the Kingsguard then. Because like he's like, oh, these new guys kind of suck, right? Like, and the old guys kind of hate me, and I'm kind of a piece of shit.
I feel like Jaime, when he was on the road with Brienne, like he was able to, he kind of learned to like be honorable in all situations. But now he's back here,
which is not where he's honorable. Yeah.
Well, he can try and be honorable as the Kingsguard, as like the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. But at the end of the day, to be honorable to the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, he's serving Cersei and Tywin, who are probably going to be telling him to do some stuff that isn't by the book super honorable, right? So there's more of that conflict, right? Where
and bang his sister, which isn't very honorable.
And bang his sister. But I think that's the point. Is I think like you're saying, there is a big conflict in the last chapter where he's like, "Hey, I'm in the Kingsguard now. I'm with all these fuckwads who aren't honorable.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do better now." Like the quote from the last Jaime chapters. I always thought I was going to be Arthur Dayne, and somewhere along the line, I became the Smiling Knight, who was like the cruel guy from the Kingsguard book.
The enemy. Exactly.
It's one of my favorite Jaime quotes, because he's like basically realizing in my mind, he's realizing like I can still turn this shit around.
It's not too late. Yeah.
I can write this shit. Exactly.
I can write a new chapter.
Well, that's the whole point of that book, right? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But I think it is interesting because he's in a situation where that's not easy anymore, because he is going to be basically taking orders from Cersei and Tywin, who are some of the most questionable people.
They're doing shit for their own well-being.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, we just heard the whole Oberon thing, right? Where he might have killed some girls, or killed some babies and a girl just because
fuck you.
Cersei didn't get his way. Yeah.
My daughter was supposed to be where your daughter is. Yeah, where you are.
So.
All right.
Cool. Well, unlike the last time we had a Tyrion chapter, the next chapter is not Jaime, so we're not going to get to learn right away. We're going the whole way across the world to Dany. Exactly.
Nice.
See what's going on with her for the end of this book.
We're getting pretty close. Is there like 5 chapters left?
It's like 10-ish. This is the last Dany chapter, I think. Jeff and I went over it a little bit in the spoiler section of the last chapter.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't I didn't want to look at all the names or anything, so I just very quickly just flipped through it right there.
Yeah, you're not allowed to. That might be telling.
I think at this point there's no spoilers to be gleaned from that, but yeah, keep it to your, don't do that.
It's just where the story's at. You could assume.
Well, that's true. The thing that we talked about in the last spoiler section could be a little telling, yeah.
All right.
But we'll see Kyle in the next chapter for Danny. What do we think, Jeff?
It's got to be Danny 7.
I don't think that's bad. I was going to say 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
6 is kind of ringing a bell, but I'm going to stick with 7. I think
6.
Damn it.
See Kyle next time for Danny 6. See the rest of you guys in the spoiler section for Tyrion 10. Bye, guys. Like, subscribe.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle. See you on the next one.
Bye, Kyle.
For Danny 6. Now in the spoiler section. Jeff, what we got?
Biggest hot take of the chapter. You ready? It's not a hot take. We've talked about this before. But I think this is the only proof that I've actually read while reading. I was like, oh, shit. Whoop. Leo meme. Tywin face so dark, wondered if he drank poison.
Yeah, I had that one too. As a little bit of evidence that Oberyn might have poisoned.
That he's already been poisoned.
Yep. And we'll talk about how much his body stinks after he's dead, how he's on the shitter, how the only poison that Pycelle actually talks about when he's on the stand during Tyrion's trial is the one that makes you shit yourself and your bowels stink. But yes, I think another point to that is Oberyn's whole plan that he kind of confesses this to Tyrion. We're like, hey, you're going to come.
Is to not. I'm not really like I do want to kill the Mountain, but like I want to kill Tywin too.
No, not that. I want you to come to Sunspear because you're Castle Rock. Sansa's going to be Winterfell. He is not Castle Rock if Tywin is alive.
True.
Which to me means Oberyn's not going back to Sunspear with Tywin alive.
Yeah, that's true. And to our point is like if Tywin's alive, like nobody's actually backing Tyrion.
Exactly. Oberyn knows that. He's not an idiot. Right. We were talking about it in the non-spoiler, like this is a problem. It's a stupid plan because of Oberyn. But if you assume Oberyn has already or is planning on killing Tywin, which seems very clear after his plan, because like I said to Kyle too, like why tell this whole story? The whole story basically says, I'm not here just for Gregor. I'm here for Tywin too.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Let me play out a hypothetical. So Oberyn wins, Tyrion survives, they do go to Dorne. A week later, Tywin shit his brains out and is dead. They definitely assume the two people that, like, that's another, like,
well,
that's true. Okay, you guys just happened to leave and now my dad's dead too. Like, you poisoned him too. And here's he shit his brains out. Like, we know that there's a poison for that. You're the poison guy.
That's true. It's a tough story to sell.
If you're going to war, it doesn't really matter. Like, I guess they wouldn't care. Like, yeah, of course we did. Like, come get us now.
So if what Oberyn's trying to do is get, like, again, legality doesn't matter. What matters is who's actually going to back you. But it seems like what he's trying to do is legally get some of the realms backing him. North, Westerlands, he'll have Dorne. And the other thing is, I think we know that Doran and Oberyn were working together on a lot of their plans. So assuming Doran knows about all this and Oberyn knows about what Doran's up to, Oberyn also knows that Quentin is on his way to get Dany right now. Right? So, like, they also could have, like, Oberyn might also know that not only are we going to have Tyrion and Sansa, we're going to have Dany and her dragons.
Huh.
So that's the other side of that.
Yeah.
Very similar to the last chapter. My next point, moving on. Very similar to the last chapter where Jon woke up, right? And Owen the Oath had woke him up and he's like, Lord Snow or Jon, I forget what he said, the dawn. Right? It's kind of how he woke Jon up.
It was the first. Oh, yeah, it's the first line of this chapter, right?
Yep. When dawn broke, he found he could not face the thought of food. So, again, I don't know what that means, but we bring it up when it matters. So
yeah, it's a hot word. You got to say it.
If anything, he could not face the thought of food makes you think that when dawn broke, like dawn, did the sword break? Dawn's a sword. Did the sword break in a fight? And then, it just pissed Tyrion off? Like, or now we're fucked. Or now, when it broke, Tyrion became an other, so now he couldn't even think about food. Yeah, you're just stretching it, so.
Yeah. I think it just maybe throws, like, you've had some weird Tyrion claims, right? That Tyrion's a Targaryen, like, let's just throw
Yeah.
some Dawns in with Tyrion to like make you keep thinking like,
But Dawn should be Dane. John's a Dane. That's why he's
well,
gonna get Dawn.
there's Dane mysteries running around. Like the mom was doing some other stuff too. So
We don't have to worry about the Dawn one. I just it was the first line of the chapter, and it's
Yep.
Dawn. So
we
just wanted
talk
to
about
bring
it when
up.
it's there. So
Last one I had, Gregor's big wooden shield took its share of hits as well, until a dog's head peeped out from under a star.
okay,
The theory on the Hound is that the Hound is hiding on the Quiet Isle, which is like a religious group.
right. He becomes the gravedigger.
So we have a Hound hiding under
The
the
seven star.
star. And
Yeah,
it peeks its head out. So I wonder if that's like maybe symbolism that
foreshadowing.
the Hound is coming
Some
back.
foreshadowing.
Yeah. It's my only thought. It kind of
Yeah. No, that's
piqued
good.
my
That's
eyes up
good.
a little when I read that line.
I think that's good foreshadowing because obviously the Hound is gravedigger.
I kind of said in the chapter that I think it also implies. Oh yeah, well that's for sure true. I think it also could just be symbolism, like Gregor is a mad dog. He's not actually like you can dress him up, but he's still just a mad dog underneath.
Like, oh yeah, and he's going to become a zombie.
Yeah. So yeah, he's not even. Yeah, what's up with him? And then the poisoning and all that. So
We meet him as the zombie, right? Is that one of the last chapters of that we have
just
written?
barely. I think it's the last Cersei chapter. Sir Robert Strong.
He picks her up, and did she have to atone? Does she walk of atonement?
You like that? I didn't even know what I was doing. That
I saw that. I saw that you were wearing that.
I'm wearing a House Strong hoodie.
It's kind of weird that they give him that last name.
It is weird.
It's an
'Cause
actual
we
house.
don't know. Well,
Well, I know they all get killed, right? They're no more.
in House of the Dragon, we just got Larry's left.
Yeah, and he ain't dead. He's a foot freak. He does.
Because he killed his dad and brother. And
Right.
he's the foot fetish guy. Yes, that's the foot fetish guy. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't know what happened to their house. I mean, they were the heirs of Harrenhal, and we know that they were the lords of Harrenhal, and we know come start of this story, it's Went before, and we know that before then it was Lawston. So we know it's been a minute since they went there. We also know there's the curse of Harrenhal. So you don't know what's happened, but we know that they were Harrenhal. They're not there anymore. I guess that implies that their family, the fact that they would give him Strong and not just like a bastard name, I guess implies that they got removed from Harrenhal, but the family didn't get wiped out like Reigns of Castamere style.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it just an old name that like no one's heard of in a while? Like, all right, we'll just slap this name on there.
I kind of really don't like what they did with Harwin Strong in House of the Dragon, just in terms of like the casting. The Strongs are like known for being massive, like Gregor, like Hound, Gregor, huge.
I mean, he was a solid sized dude. He just wasn't like overly tall.
They call it like his nickname is Breakbones, and he's like they talk about Breakbones in Fire and
should have
Blood,
been
like
that.
they talk about Gregor, and like he's huge. And there's other Strongs that we hear about they're all big. Like people think that Duncan and Brienne are both Strongs too. Like have some strong blood. Because there was a Strong called the Lusty who was in the Kingsguard, who we'll learn about in the Ares Oakheart chapter next book. He was just fucking everybody pretty much. So there's a lot of strong bastard children out there, and people think that pretty much. Yeah. People think that if you're big, you're strong.
Yeah.
So I think that might be why, because Strongs are known for being really big. So that's why they go with Gregor Strong or Robert Strong.
Yeah, and the only one I have left is where Tyrion's headed.
Yeah. Headed east to Dany. Yeah, it's interesting because next chapter, Dany chapter, I didn't think about that, but that is where Tyrion's headed, is to Dany in the long run. Yeah, where we're at, he hasn't even got there, but even at the end of the books so far.
I was just saying he's headed to the Black Sails where Varys controls the guards, right, which are non-existent.
Yeah. Well, Varys is the fake. Varys is one of the guards.
He's the jailer.
Yeah, as Rugen.
Which is the easiest way to escape then, which is kind of how Jaime gets tied in. But
him and Jaime get Tyrion out, next Tyrion chapter.
Yeah, so I'm just saying Kyle's kind of onto it, but he didn't know how.
Yeah, he's kind of right. He did say Jaime's going to be involved and Tyrion's not going to die. Again, some of that's just because of show knowledge.
Just plot armor. Just plot armor too. Like
it's one of the things where, like I said, like Tyrion doesn't even get to Dany in the books.
Right. He's outside the wall. That's as close as we get. A war is about to start outside the walls.
So one of the things I kind of want to tell Kyle is, and I think he knows this, because I feel like I talked to him about this before, that the fact that the next two books take place at the same time with different characters means that like we only really have one book left, right? Like,
right.
Yes, it's
just
two books worth of
book.
characters, but like timeline wise, Kyle's he knows 3/4 of everything. So like him saying stuff like, "Oh, Tyrion's alive," like, okay, yes, you're right that Tyrion lives through this, but like we don't know if he lives long enough to meet Dany. I think it's safe to assume in the show what happens in the show makes it more likely to happen in the books,
right?
But we don't.
But
like,
it's
not for sure.
Yeah,
and I think, and like I've said this before too, the longer it takes Winds of Winter to come out, the more likely I think it is for things in the show to not be true, right? Because things that George might have told them now, after being like, "Oh fuck, how do I get out of this corner I've written myself into?" Oh, you know what? Maybe if I do this differently than the show, that gets me out of this corner. He's just gonna do it, right? So that the longer time that passes, the more likely things are to be different from the show, is something I believe as well.
Yeah. All right.
That's all I have for this one.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys in the next one for Dany 6.
Dany 6. Gonna be a good one.
Something in Marine. I'm not even sure.
It's a good one.
See you guys there. Like, subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.